What's up, guys? So today's video should be a bit shorter. We can just quickly go over basically what we're looking at right now. So the SPY clearly failed at the 200 simple moving average, right? Many people wanted to go short, especially given the fact that we came to the top of this range at 430. A very similar range back when we were in May, when we were initially dropping. All right, so then we came back to this range. 430 acted as resistance. Very similar, very bullish news from FOMC meeting. Had a good green candle close, made everyone extremely bullish. And from here, ripped it down to the downside. All right, so now you can see that the 200 is acting as resistance. All right, you could also see that the 430 level on the SPY is also acting as resistance. Now, when people wanted to go short from that level, 425 was a good target to the downside. 425 hit. We had another pop to the upside after FOMC, and I was assuming that the FOMC minutes would be bullish, right? Because the prior Fed meeting, they had the data of how CPI was going to be. So I had a feeling that the Fed minutes would be bullish, and we ended up popping, right? But they faded that pop, so they shorted that pop, and we ended up falling from 429 back down to 427. So they reshorted. All right, so they reshorted basically with the 430 and the 200 simple moving average on the daily in mind. All right, but now when you look at the weekly, it becomes even more difficult because the 50 SMA is right there as well at 433.11. That's the weekly SMA on the SPY. So there is a lot of resistance to the upside on the SPY. This could be the 5th green week in a row on the SPY as well. We already had 4 green weeks. So essentially, what I think is going to end up happening, and what the most logical thing to do would be a retest back down to 423. Now, obviously, anything can happen, but we came. And the reason for that is because we double tapped this level of support basically at 424.71. And we dipped down. Basically 424.50 was acting as support today, right? If that level breaks, then 422 to 423 is going to be the next level of support. And then, I mean, what if that happens tomorrow, for example, right? And we end up closing red. What kind of candle would that look like? So put a red candle there. Would that look very bullish? No, not really. Right? But it is a very abrupt move to the downside with a tight stop loss with support at around 421 to 420. So up here, it made more sense to be bearish. Now, like for example, if tomorrow we end up falling to 422 to 423. So my main point is that until we see large red candles, similar to what we saw back here initially when we first started falling back in April and in May, until we see those types of red candles and weakness, because we're in a clear uptrend still, we have to continue to be bullish until we see clear defined breaks, and especially since we are now getting closer to support. So if tomorrow we end up falling to 422 to 423, I'll be much more aggressively bullish. And you know how today I was saying that I was going to be very, very bullish at 425. So we barely really broke below that level. It acted as a pretty good level of support today. We had a low of 424.50, right? But overall, really, right, what's going on right now is that the MACD is also starting to even out a bit. The RSI is starting to cool off a bit, which is a good sign. Now it's just it's chicken, right? Which side wants to stop funneling money in? There's still a lot more room to the upside, but then automatically people already know that there's a lot of room to the downside. So it's just timing now. And instead of trying to time the market against the overall trend, it makes sense to just wait for confirmation and just trade comfortably and not try to force plays, not try to hero trade, not try to not try to be right. I mean, it doesn't matter at the end of the day. Like, as long as you're making money, that shouldn't matter. So just trade intelligently. This in hindsight would have been an amazing trade, because on the weekly and on the daily we're like basically right next to resistance. But now basically I would argue, as we get closer and closer to support, 422 to 423, it becomes an even better longing opportunity on the SPY. And we can quickly take a look at the NASDAQ and the IWM as well. The NASDAQ stopped at the 10 SMA. So it still has some room to go to the downside to get to this trend line. And the trend line support would be around 324.70. Still, that is still bullish, right? And then even if we break down below that, 324 is a major level of support in and of itself. So there's still a lot of room to the downside for support on the NASDAQ as well. The IWM is already really, really strong. It had multiple closes above the 200 SMA, and it's still holding above this very important fib line from like actual, it was older fib level that is currently acting as support still. So right here at 196.24. So you can clearly see it's keeps on double tapping this level of support. And essentially, yeah, I mean, like, the IWM is basically creating the setup that the SPY looks like it's about to create. So the IWM is already at a level of support with a red candle, something that the SPY should basically have done already. But the fact that the IWM is holding this level of support is a good sign for the SPY, because the IWM has been leading, right? So if the IWM holds this level of support and then bounces, then that's going to translate in strength on the SPY, and then we're going to continue moving upwards. But it's going to be interesting. All I can say is it's going to be interesting. There's not really a huge shift in momentum. There isn't a huge shift in sentiment. Things are still very, very bullish. The Fed, the minutes that came out actually seemed still pretty bullish in terms of market dynamics. That's why stock market dynamics. That's why the market ended up acting favorably to it. But due to the other FOMC meetings, they were faded because of history of what happens, right? So, I mean, there's that for the video today. There's not much else for me to talk about. I hope you guys enjoyed today's live stream as well. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. And yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you.